Welcome, everyone, to this Believe in NFL Draft Prospect podcast. It's an interview edition. It's a Thursday. You know that we're bringing you an inside glimpse into some of the best football players in the entire nation. Of course, we have turned our page fully on the 2021 NFL draft cycle. No more recaps, no more evaluations for those guys that are now all the NFL's guys at this point. We're going to be talking about the guys that are going to be the next wave 2022 NFL draft specifically. It was a magical season, to say the least, for Coastal Carolina this past year. A lot of great football players. Tehran Jackson, who's actually going to be playing his professional football about 25 minutes from me with the Philadelphia Eagles. I have who I consider to be one of the outstanding defensive ends returning to college football. He's listed as a bandit for the Coastal Carolina defense. Of course, I got Mr. Jeffrey Gunter. Jeffrey, appreciate you so much, man. Taking some time again. I've been very impressed with you on film over the last couple years, to be honest, going back to the 2018 season as well. And I just appreciate you kind of giving me a little inside glimpse into your world.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you for having me, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I want to kind of go paint this as a little bit of a journey, Jeff. I know that, coming out of Riverside High School originally, I know you're a Durham, North Carolina guy. Can you talk to me a little bit about your recruiting process? What led you to Coastal, and maybe just a little bit about like the other schools that may have had interest in you as well?
Okay, well, to start it off, I didn't play defensive end until my senior year. I was always a really skinny kid. So going into my senior year, I was about 185 pounds playing linebacker, and a couple injuries happened and I moved defensive end and, it fit, it fit like a glove. And a lot of schools, they held off from recruiting me because they didn't think I could gain weight. So all the big schools in the area, like NC State, all those guys, they didn't really look at me much. Coastal was really the only D1 school to, give me opportunity. And I thank them every day. I had a bunch of other FCS schools, but Coastal was the first D1 school to give me opportunity.
Well, Jeff, talk to me because that's fascinating, man. I'd heard that before. I think it was another interview that you did that you talked about being kind of like an undersized, lankier guy at that point. Yeah. Talk to me about that weight gain, man, because I love hearing the stories of how guys have been able to put on the weight and maintain their athleticism. Like, how have you been able to add so much good weight to your frame over the last few years?
Man, it's just want to and a bunch of trial and error, man. When I first got to college, I was determined to gain that weight no matter what, man. And I would sit in the cafeteria for hours, like all day. I would do my homework in there and everything to gain weight. And, I'm here now. I'm a smooth 265 right now, so I think it worked out pretty well.
Absolutely. You got any gross weight gaining tips? I know they always talk about, the guys go to the Senior Bowl. I think it was the Ben Barch a couple years ago that said he was eating like cottage cheese mixture and all this type of stuff. You got anything weird that you were doing to gain the weight?
I don't really have any mixtures, but I was eating an insane amount of food. So, my bad. But I know my freshman year, I would go in the cafeteria, eat 4 omelets and 3 glasses of chocolate milk, and that'd be my breakfast.
That's awesome. And I know, obviously, the weight gain and the position switch ultimately from when you started playing defensive end in senior year of high school. Obviously, it's worked out for you. I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I know 2018 was kind of your breakout year. It was first team all conference. You were I think 14 tackles for loss, something like 5.5 sacks. So obviously you were a very productive defensive end at that point. I know the next part of your story, though, is that you did take the opportunity to transfer to NC State, eventually coming back. So can you take me through just a little bit into that decision and what ultimately led you back from NC State to Coastal?
At the time of my transfer, my mother was going through a really, really bad divorce. And I felt like it was the best decision for me and my family for me to move back to NC State because my house is literally like 8 minutes from North Carolina State's campus. So once I got to NC State, some things didn't work out and divorce got settled. And, I just really missed Coastal. So I decided to come back. And I took a lot of heat for it, but I feel like it was the best decision for me. And, man, it paid off pretty well. So, it was never anything big, like a big deal. It's just family problems,
Yeah, no, I know. And obviously there's things that every one of us have to deal with, unfortunately, that is out of our control, to say the least. But obviously it worked out, man, to say the least. We're talking about this 2020 season. I mean, a magical year. I know people obviously want to highlight the BYU game as obviously the huge win of the season, obviously with what they were doing at that time. But I mean, you guys were undefeated going into bowl season, we're talking about guys like Tehran Jackson I talked about, the Jordan Strong, Silas Kelly, Teddy Gallagher, Grayson McCall. And a lot of those guys are coming back this year, which I know you guys are probably really excited about. But take me through to start out with the magical 2020 run and just how special this group of young men were.
Man, coming into that offseason, man, everybody was just super determined. Like, we knew COVID was happening, but we just didn't care. We just put our heads down and grinded, man. And all that work really paid off, man. And the season it felt like a dream, you know, especially coming from where we came from. My first few years at Coastal, we were 5-7, and nobody really gave us any respect. People were saying we should stay in FCS. The opponents were saying we were an FCS team still. So just making that complete 360 turnaround, bro, it was the best feeling ever. And we got to send our seniors off, Tehran and CJ, the right way, man. And that's really what matters. So 2020 season was magical, man. I can't even describe how good it felt.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Obviously keeping up with you guys. And I want to talk about that defense for a second, a little more specifically.
Yes,
we talked about a few of them already. That defense, I mean, against anybody in the country, I would put you guys up against. And obviously, again, you got a staple outside of a couple guys like you mentioned, like Tehran, that are obviously off to, you know, taking their dream to the next level. But you guys have a great core coming back. How good do you think that you can be now going into 2021 on the defensive side of the ball? Do you think you could be better? Has a standard been set higher? Like, what are your expectations just for the defensive side of the football?
Man, the standard is the standard. You know, we're gonna play black swarm defense. We're gonna fly to the ball. We're gonna hit people, and you know, we're gonna talk our stuff in between, man. And I think 2020 was a good year, but I think now that we have a little bit more experience, we got you know what I'm saying, a little bit more camaraderie. I think 2021 will be better, man. I know that's a hard feat to accomplish, but I think the sky's the limit for this defense.
And Jeff, can you give me a little glimpse into how special that offense is? Because I think that, you know, without talented the defense is, that you guys are going to get a lot of notoriety, but we're talking about, again, Grayson McCall, who was a freshman All-American. Sure. I know CJ's off to the NFL as well, but these guys still have Isaiah, Javon. There's a lot of talented players on that offense, man. How special is that group?
Man, this is by far the best offense I've ever played with in my life. But we've got G-Money, G10 at a quarterback, and with him we can do anything. We got Vaughn out there on the outside. He's one of the best receivers in the country. We've got arguably the best tight end in the country, Zay. Our offensive line, you know, they're scrappy. They're going to fight you. You know, they might be small, but they're going to get after you, you know. And our running backs, I know we lost CJ, man, but we got a bunch of talent in our running back room, and I expect a lot of guys to step up and really take over, man. The sky is the limit for the offense. We're gonna be one of the best teams offensively and defensively in the country, man. Just stay tuned.
Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned a little bit, obviously, with COVID pandemic and a lot of uncertainty swirling a little bit. You guys were obviously really determined through that. Can you talk to me a little bit about the obstacles and the way that you felt like you guys best were able to navigate it going into the season, and how difficult was it maybe at points? You know, I know there were some games getting scheduled last minute, like that BYU game, for instance. Like, how weird of a season was this for you guys?
Man, I just know our head coach, Jamie Chadwell, he preaches a handling adversity. You know, you don't know what life is going to throw at you, but you can determine how you're going to handle the obstacles that come at you, you know? And that's what we did, man. We tried to stay in the bubble as much as we can. You know, that was really hard because campus was loving us a lot. But, you know, we tried to, you know, just keep our heads strong and just look at the big goal and look at the big picture. And that's what we did during the offseason and into the season, man. And, you know, that's a testament to our leaders, and that's a testament to everybody in the team looking forward to the goal and staying strong. And
Jeffrey, obviously, you know, we were talking a little bit before we started. I've been very impressed with your film, and you know, it can be encapsulated a little bit by the, you know, 12 and a half tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. Like, those stats are crazy. And then I look at this stat, and I don't know if people have talked about this that much, but 6 forced fumbles in one season. That is one of the most insane stats I've ever seen. Can you just talk to me a little bit about your development as a football player, the season that you just had, and for you, what is the next step? Not just being, you know, the best in the conference, the best on the East Coast, whatever the narrative is, but potentially being the best defensive end in all of college football if it goes right.
Man, it's just amazing to see how far I've come. And it's really, I got to say thank you to Tehran, CJ, Coach McGee, everybody on the team that's working with me this summer, because they really pushed me to a whole nother level. And then coming in and playing like a more of an outside linebacker role instead of just defensive end role, it fit me perfectly. And I was able to make a lot of plays once I got comfortable playing, man. And I feel like next year, because I'm going to have more time under my belt, more ability to work on being an outside linebacker, defensive end hybrid, man, my number is just going to grow, you know. And it's like you said, I want to be the best defensive end in the country, and I'm doing everything I can to make it happen, man. I'm in the lab every day, and I just want to make sure my mother's proud every time she sees me on the field. So, yes, sir.
And talk to me a little bit, Jeff, because I know you mentioned, the versatility that you have, not just being a defensive end, being an outside linebacker, being able to play in space a little bit. How
Yes, sir.
comfortable has that kind of come naturally to you? And how has
Mhm.
the maturation of your ability to play in space, play from depth, do all that type of stuff?
I know when I first got here during the summer, it was a little shaky at first because I wasn't used to playing. I'm used to going forward all the time instead of going backward. But man, once I got the hang of it, I really fell in love with it, and I realized that my skill set is perfect for it. And I think that's what separates me from a lot of guys. I can play in a 3-4 or 4-3, whatever you need me to do. I can set the edge. I can cover a tight end, and I think my skill set would be perfect, for the league and the way football is going nowadays.
Yeah, and a lot of versatility that people are playing with now. Even if you're a
Mhm.
3-4 team, like so many sub packages today, guys are playing even man fronts most of the time anyway. So I think that your
Yeah.
versatility definitely does play well to the next level. And I'm curious, you being a guy that can do a little bit of everything, can play in multiple
Mhm.
systems, multiple fronts. Are there some players, whether it is past, present, growing up, whatever it might be, that you model your game after a little bit?
One of my favorite players is Willie McGinnis. I like him a lot.
It's a good one.
Like currently, TJ Watt's one of my favorite guys. Yannick Ngakoue. I don't know who. I was one interviewer that compared me to him, and I almost blushed on the camera. Of course, Aaron Donald. Daniel Hunter over there with the Vikings. I watch a bunch of guys, man, and I try to take everything I can from their film. And I just to even be compared and in the same sentence as some of those guys would be great for me.
And how much have you talked, Jeffrey, to Tehran when he was working through the process, and how excited were you for him specifically, being a guy that I'm sure you've had a great relationship over the years, when he got that call and he had his dream come true with the Philadelphia Eagles?
Man, in all honesty, I didn't really hit Tehran up much during this whole process. I tried to, let him lock in and, go get his paper, but I'll text him every now and then, like, how's it down there? Did you learn anything? And he gave me a bunch of tips whenever he could. But, when he got called, man, it was like, I don't know, it was like I got drafted almost. That's my brother, man. That's one of my best friends, and I couldn't be happier for him. I wish he would have went a little higher. I think he could have went like the 4th, but I think the Eagles are a good spot for him. He's going to be a good player for years to come.
Yeah, the long term for the Eagles, I think, is really what's going to be interesting, because I think he actually plays a lot like Brandon Graham, who's already there.
Yeah,
Brandon's getting a little
too.
older, so I think that might be a really good transition. And I agree with you. I thought he was going to go a little higher because he tested well. He did well down at the Senior Bowl. I thought he was going to go a little higher than that, but I think the Eagles got a definite steal in the 6th round. And now I'm so excited about your process, man, because we're getting obviously into the final year. You talked about the standard is the standard, but having the success that you guys just had, this fantastic season, this magical run, what for you would make the ending to your career perfect from an individual standpoint, from a team standpoint? Like, what are the goals now?
Man, the goals are I need a couple rings on my finger. I know last year we won a co-conference championship because of COVID rules. We had to cancel the championship game, but getting the outright championship and hopefully a New Year's Six bowl win, that would sending all my guys off the right way. That would be the best thing for me. Individual stats, I know they'll come. Individual success, I know they'll come. But just sending all my senior boys and everybody in my class off the right way. That's what my goal is.
And Jeffrey, I have a lot of young men that are still in high school kind of reach out to me, and they're obviously going through the recruiting as well, just trying to get some insight sometimes. And I have been past Coastal before, and I know that it is a beautiful campus, and I know a lot of people probably don't even know too much about it, but for maybe the young men that would be considering Coastal, can you just sell it for a second as why it's such a special place for you?
Man, nobody has more fun than us. It's not college, it's Coastal, man. I think, and I've talked to people that go to other schools that have visited Coastal and everything, man. It's a very unique place. It's a place where you can be yourself and people will still rock with you. It's a place that, we're like a big happy family. And I'm not just talking about football. I mean, like the entire campus. Everybody looks out for everybody. And of course, football, man, we're a bunch of players with mullets and maniacs. You know what I'm saying? We're a bunch of characters. And I wish we had like a stat. Nobody has a better time playing ball than us, man. If you come to Coastal, you're coming to have the best 4 years of your life, and it's going to follow you for the next 40 years, Education, athletically, man, you'll be in a great spot if you come to Coastal.
And if anybody asks me who's the best defensive player on Coastal Carolina, I would say Jeffrey Gunter. But I have to be honest with you, man. if somebody said, what do you think of the first, when someone says Coastal, like what's the first thing that pops in your head? It'd be
Yeah.
Teddy Gallagher with the mullet,
Yeah, the
to be
mullet.
honest with you.
The
So,
mullet, yeah.
you gotta love it, man. You guys got some swag, you got some swagger. You got some good times, like you're saying. I'm really excited, obviously, about you moving forward here. And my last question is, talked about Tehran and his journey a little bit into the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, just a year from now, you're going to be in the same position.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you're going to get drafted, absolutely, with the talent that you are. That moment, looking forward, what type of blessing would that be? And just how long has this been a dream for you to be a professional football player?
Man, that's the only dream I've ever had in my life, man. I remember being 6 years old, sitting in front of TV, watching NFL Network all day, and all that. So just being able to say that I made it, you know what I'm saying, be able to get my mother a house or be able to take care of my mother a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, that means the world to me. And I don't know. I know tears are gonna flow when I get drafted. I know that much, but I just it's my dream coming true, and I'm doing everything I can to get there, man. And I just can't wait for that day because it'll be a huge weight off my shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the different aspects, right? Like obviously it's been a dream for you, but the generational wealth aspect, obviously for your family and everything is huge. Again, here joined by Jeffrey Gunter, star defensive end, outside linebacker, whatever you want to call him. He's a damn good football player out of Coastal Carolina. Jeffrey, I appreciate you, man. Again, taking a little bit of time today, man. This was awesome. You can read as much in the bios and backgrounds as possible, but it means so much different just being able to kind of see it face to face. So I appreciate you so much for taking some time.
So thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.